Let's watch the weapons make the decisions. Now, trust me, these were all bad guys.
But this is what happens when there are bad guys behind the AI. This is what we're looking to prevent.
The nation is still recovering from yesterday's incident, which officials are describing as some kind of automated attack, which killed 11 U.S. senators at the Capitol building.
Well, this is speculative, and from 2019, autonomous weapons have been deployed and have caused casualties in the real world.
Here's a QR code and link to our proposal so that you can refer to it during and after our presentation.
Some of the most immediately pressing concerns in AI are the use of lethal autonomous weapons or laws, disinformation, deepfakes, and hacking. We're already seeing the effects of these technologies. The US presidential election is already rife with AI-generated disinformation. Even more worryingly, laws have been deployed in the Libyan civil war. There are some obvious, huge concerns about turning the power to kill humans over to AI.
These super scary AIs with their super scary capabilities are available to pretty much anyone. For example, Meta's Llama 2 was open sourced more or less from day one, and soon after, freely available derivatives could achieve GPT-4 level performance with none of OpenAI's safety protocols. This is clearly a problem.
And here's the kicker. OpenAI, Meta, Anthropic, Google, and IBM, most of the big AI firms are all based in the United States. The US also spends almost 4 times as much on AI than the world's runner-up, China.
There has been some disjointed work to aid in this issue. Papers on risk assessments have been published, notably, DeepMind proposed assessments on both the training of the models and its capabilities. The US has also imposed restrictions on AI chip exports to countries. However, there has been very little done to directly address the risks of AI software, as it's extremely difficult to regulate. We believe we have a solution that is feasible and directly addresses the problem of AI over-accessibility.
Our solution is to create a panel of 20 experts. Each AI model will be reviewed by 9 randomly selected members of the panel. The panel would work within the U.S. Department of Commerce, and thus it would have enforcement authority under strict existing U.S. law.
While we must ensure that we address all of the problems comprehensively, we also need to be careful that our policy does not harm innovation. Thus, we decided to limit this policy only to AI models which are more risky. Generally, models above the threshold specified in the first column will be subject to the policy. For models in high-risk applications, which are defined in the proposal, the thresholds would be slightly lowered to those listed in the last column. We picked these values based on what's been disclosed about existing models. GPT-4, for example, is right around this threshold, is pretty close to AGI, and certainly has dangerous capabilities.
We decided on 5 values that all AI models should have, and which would be addressed, listed here. For each of these 5 categories, panel members will give the model a rating between 1 and 5, 1 being the best and 5 being the worst. These ratings will then be summed to an overall score between 5 and 25.
Based on the ratings given, AI models would be assigned into 3 tiers. These are complete global release for the safest models, release to allied countries for somewhat safe models, and no release for the riskiest models. We decided to create the intermediate tier of release to allied countries to avoid needlessly restricting innovation and to facilitate international cooperation and adoption of similar policy. The allied countries we're referring to here are specified in the proposal. Each of these tiers has a stricter score requirement when open sourcing rather than releasing APIs, since the customizability and so the risk goes way up.
Our theory of change is pretty simple. We've put in a lot of research and writing and are contacting lawmakers and other stakeholders. The outputs are, of course, the proposal we've written up and important people looking at said proposal. We believe that this will lead both to greater public knowledge of these short-term AI accessibility risks and to government action to reduce them. This, in turn, will incentivize AI companies to innovate more safely and will prevent powerful AI from falling into the wrong hands at high rates.
Even though this policy is effective, there are some potential limitations which we tried to address as thoroughly as possible. The most obvious drawback is that it could harm innovation. The bureaucracy will slow down beneficial AI development and that it will damage the US's relationship with industry. In response to this, we'd argue that safe AI would still be released and be available to do good with. Additionally, sometimes public safety should take precedence over industry interests. That's the government's job. Secondly, it's possible that this could damage the US's existing lead in AI. China and Europe, to a lesser extent, are investing heavily in AI and doing their best to catch up with the US. However, right now, use of American AI in China is more risky than the use of Chinese AI in China, and our policy would directly limit the use of American AI in hostile countries. Additionally, AI companies would want to access the US market, so many will be highly incentivized to create models safe enough to get the license anyway. As you can see, there are a few more limitations we came up with, but we don't have time to go into each, but they are all addressed in the proposal.
Although this policy would be extremely effective at solving some of the pressing AI problems we see, more can still be done. For example, legislation could be passed to tighten supply chains on AI chips, slowing China's potential catch-up, or to increase regulation on laws, or even to promote international cooperation on the issue.
As discussed in our theory of change, this policy will be the most effective only if people with power see it. We have already begun sending personalized emails to our legislators based on their previous work in the field, and are sharing our policy with other legislators, top experts, and even AI companies who have shown a commitment to AI governance. Plus, we'll send a slightly altered international version to the UN. We think these parties can have a substantial impact on the issue.
We don't want bad people behind powerful AI. That would mean bad things for everybody in the world. This policy is a valuable step, and currently the only feasible step to solving that problem. Thank you.